Welcome to Rise Untold, where the stories behind the spotlight come alive. What if I told you that one of the most whispered celebrity rumors of the last 3 decades might finally have an answer? And not just any rumor, but a story that has followed one of music's most private and iconic figures, Janet Jackson, for nearly her entire career. It's a story so layered, so tangled in whispers, contradictions, and quiet confessions that it's become almost a modern-day Hollywood legend, the kind of story that fans trade like secret currency, half believing it, half dismissing it, but never truly letting it go. That it's the story of Janet and her ex-husband, James DeBarge, about the whispers of a hidden pregnancy, about a baby who, according to some, was quietly removed from the spotlight before the world even knew they existed. And now, about where that child might be today. For decades, the speculation has been relentless. People in the industry have passed the rumor along in hushed tones. Fans have dissected interviews, photographs, and public appearances looking for clues. Some insisted the baby was given up for adoption, completely removed from the Jackson orbit. Others swore the child had been raised within the family, hidden in plain sight. And then there were the skeptics, those who dismissed it as nothing more than sensational gossip, the kind of tabloid fantasy that clings to famous names. But here's the strange thing. Rumors don't live this long without something at their core. For years, James DeBarge kept quiet, never giving the speculation much fuel. But when he began speaking more openly, not in teasing riddles or suggestive smirks, but in full sentences, claiming to know the truth, people paid attention. The way he told it, the missing pieces in this decades-long puzzle began to take shape. And according to him, the truth is not only stranger than people imagined, but far closer than anyone would have believed. That to really understand how we got here, you have to go back to the mid-1980s. Janet was just 18, barely an adult, when she married James, a young R&B singer from the well-known DeBarge family. They were both talented, both on the rise, and both carrying the kind of youthful impulsiveness that burns bright and burns fast. Their relationship was passionate, but unstable from the very beginning. Fame amplified every disagreement. Pressure from their careers magnified every crack. The marriage barely lasted a year before collapsing. But in that short time, something happened, something that, depending on who you ask, would go on to shape the rest of Janet's public life in ways she never acknowledged. Whispers began even before the divorce. People close to them claimed Janet disappeared from public view for a short stretch. She stopped attending certain events, limited her public appearances. The timing, some say, lined up perfectly with what would have been a pregnancy. For most people, that wouldn't be enough to raise suspicion. But Janet wasn't most people. She was part of the Jackson dynasty, a family whose fame was built on carefully crafted images and whose private lives were guarded like state secrets. A teenage pregnancy at that moment, for a rising pop star just beginning to carve out her independence, would have been a scandal, and not the kind the Jacksons wanted. Now imagine being in that position. You're young, you're under a microscope, and you're part of a family so famous that even a slight change in your schedule sparks headlines. If you wanted to hide something monumental, something life-changing, you'd have to go to extraordinary lengths. And many believe that's exactly what happened. Through the years, theories multiplied. Some claimed the baby had been quietly handed to a trusted relative to raise. Others said the child had been placed for adoption entirely outside the family. And then there were the more elaborate theories that the baby grew up around the Jacksons without the public ever realizing, blending into the family gatherings like any other young relative. The secrecy, the complete absence of evidence, was part of what made the rumor so resilient. For decades, it remained just that, a rumor, until James DeBarge started talking. At first, it was almost offhand, little hints here and there. But then he became more direct, claiming outright that a child did exist. And in a twist no one expected, he said he'd actually been contacted by her. According to James, a young woman reached out and said the words that would stop any father cold. "I'm your daughter." Think about that moment. You're carrying decades of questions, wondering if a piece of your past had been taken from you. And then, out of nowhere, someone claims to be that missing piece. James says the conversation wasn't vague or suspicious. The way she spoke, the details she gave, everything lined up in ways he couldn't ignore. And the most shocking, part. She wasn't living a secretive life on the other side of the world. She was here, living an ordinary life, but with an extraordinary connection. From what James has hinted, the young woman may have been far closer to the Jackson family than the public ever guessed. Close enough that she may have grown up knowing the truth about herself, but far enough removed that the rest of the world stayed oblivious. This is the kind of detail that makes people start combing through old photos, family footage, and media appearances, looking for someone who might fit the description. Of course, the skeptics haven't gone quiet. Many point out that there's still no concrete proof, no DNA test, no undeniable documentation. Some say it's simply too fantastic to be real. But then again, Hollywood has seen more than its fair share of secrets that sounded impossible until they weren't. And if there's any family with the resources, the reach, and the will to keep something this big private for decades, it's the Jacksons. Another misconception that keeps popping up is that if the child existed, she would be a carbon copy of Janet. Same smile, same voice, same eyes. But that's not how genetics always works. James has described her resemblance as subtle, the kind of likeness you only notice after spending time with her, the kind that feels familiar but not obvious. It's a quieter kind of connection, but sometimes that's even more powerful. When James speaks about her, it's not with the detachment of someone spinning a story for attention. There's a heaviness in his voice, a kind of longing that's hard to fake. He talks about missed years, about wanting to know her, about the ache of lost time. Whether you believe every detail or not, that emotion is real, but this story isn't just about James. It's about how celebrity myths are born, how they grow, and why some never die. It's about the delicate balance between the public persona and the private reality, and how, sometimes, those two worlds barely touch. It's about the fact that in the age of instant information, some secrets still have the power to hide in plain sight. If what James says is true, then for decades, this woman has lived a double life of sorts, not in the dramatic espionage sense, but in the quiet way of someone who knows their history is extraordinary yet chooses to live ordinarily. School, work, relationships, all built on a foundation that most people in her life might never even suspect. If that's part of why the story has such a grip on people. It's not just a piece of celebrity gossip, it's a human mystery. It raises questions about identity, family loyalty, and the price of fame. It forces us to wonder, if you were in her position, would you step forward and reveal yourself? Or would you stay silent to protect the life you've built? Even now, with James speaking more openly than ever, there's no guarantee we'll ever get all the answers. Maybe there's truth in what he says. Maybe it's a blend of fact and misunderstanding. Or maybe it's a story that will always hover in that strange space between possibility and myth. What we do know is that it hasn't gone away. The rumor has outlived careers, outlasted marriages, and endured in a way most gossip never does. It has a life of its own, feeding on every hint, every denial, every carefully worded interview answer from Janet herself. And that's where we are today, with a story that refuses to die, a man who says he's found the daughter he lost decades ago, and a woman who may be living a life far more remarkable than anyone around her realizes. Oh, now it's in your hands. Could this really be the truth we've been circling for 30 years? Could the most private of pop stars have pulled off one of the most successful cover-ups in entertainment history? Or is this just another chapter in a never-ending game of rumor and speculation? Whatever you believe, the fascination isn't going anywhere. Because deep down, we all want to know how much of what we see is real, and how much is the story they want us to believe. And if you've been following along, you know this isn't the last time a story like this will surface. There's always another hidden chapter, another long-buried truth just waiting to be uncovered. That's why you'll want to keep watching. The next mystery I'm diving into? Let's just say, if you thought this one was unbelievable, you haven't seen anything yet. So tell me, do you believe James? Do you think Janet's hidden baby really exists? And if so, where has she been all these years? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your theory might just be closer to the truth than you think. And remember, in this space, we don't just follow the headlines. We go inside the story, because sometimes the truth is even stranger than the rumor.